You're listening to the Microsoft Innovation Podcast, where we explore the intersection of people, business, and technology. This year, we're adding a new show to our lineup, The AI Advantage, to help you learn the skills you need to thrive in the AI era.
Welcome to the Power Platform Show. Thanks for joining me today. I hope today's guest inspires and educates you on the possibilities of the Microsoft Power Platform. Now, let's get on with the show. In this episode, we'll be focusing on Resco's mobility, ISV partnerships, and PCF components in the Microsoft ecosystem. Today's guest is from Bratislava, Slovakia. He works at Resco as the Power Platform Specialist. You can find links to his bio, socials, and anything we discuss on the show. If there's a hyperlink, you will find it in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the show, Kuba.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's good to have you on the show. It's been a long time coming, right?
Yes, we actually sort of agreed to do this in 2018 when we met in, I believe, Stockholm. And then me and you, I would say, both at the same time kind of forgot about it because I switched roles. I, went over to Microsoft, for a couple of years. And then when I got back and actually find myself in a situation when I wanted to say a couple of words about the community, I realized that those were my beginnings when I met Chris Huntingford and Gus Gonzalez in here at Stockholm.
Yeah.
And actually I tagged you. It's not just you found it. I tagged you. You found me, and you were kind enough to offer to, go back to old promises. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good value. I always like to start with food, family, and fun. And you come from a part of the world that I have not been to, and I would love to go to. Tell me a bit about food, family, and fun.
I don't necessarily have the answer that would have a lot to do with where I'm from, because the food that I like, it might sound kind of cheesy. It actually is cheesy. It's a pizza. I like Italian food a lot. But being international guy, that has to be in the end. That has to be Chinese. That has to be sushi. So I'm not so, I would say, Central European as I supposed to be. But overall, Slovakia, next to Czech Republic, lovers of beer and all kinds of nice stuff. Slovakia is a very small country, so we don't have nothing that's really typical, apart from, I guess, the beautiful mountains, nature, and personalities, I would say. So when it comes to food, it's Italian. It's kind of similar to my name, actually. I always wished that I was Italian, because my name Bajla is supposed to mean something in Italian. And later, when I was older, I realized I actually have some roots in Italy. So maybe it's somehow connected. But also, on the other hand, over the last 2 years, the topic of food finally became sensitive to me, because I gained 20 kilos over the last 2 years, because I have a baby son and I have a happy relationship. So every time I'm asked about the food, I'm wondering whether it's either interest, or they saw me before, they see me now, and they're trying to figure out what's the reason for it. But that's for the food. And for family, like I already said, I have a son. He'll turn 1 in 21 days. So it's been very exciting in 2024. And what can I say? I'm from a pretty big family. Definitely also, like I said, I love Italian food. I have Italian roots. My family also behaved like Italian family. So I remember all the gatherings, 20, 25, 30 people in one tiny room around our grandmother, and we're just, joking and making fun of each other. So I definitely am a family guy, and I always will be a family guy. And when it comes to fun, I would say I'm full of contradictions. I always loved sports. I was always about the sports, but at the same time, I attended art lessons for more than 15 years. So when I was a small boy, I started with the tennis. Then I switched to ice hockey. Then I switched to short track speed skating for a couple of years. Then I switched to basketball for 14 years. That was probably the biggest sport for me. And in parallel with all of that, I was painting and drawing a lot. So that was my fun time. So very strange child, I would say.
Wow. This is amazing. This is like very full life. Very cool, man.
Yeah. And it inspired a lot of choices that I've made. For example, when I finished high school, I went to college for civil engineering, which I really wanted to do because that came out of the old art lessons, out of the old drawing and everything. And quickly I realized that even though I like it, it might not be the way that really I'm not that passionate about it. I really like it, but it's not the passion is not there. So that's where I realized I want to switch, and I picked technology, and that's where it all started.
Wow. What a cool path, man. Very interesting.
It is interesting to me. It might sound strange because there's too many, I would say, decisions or choices that I picked like totally different path and I tried that one. And it's not that I cannot really make a proper decision and stay with it. It's probably about a self discovery. I'm not afraid to just go back and really follow the new, better me because you always, learn about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it might sound that it's a whole lot of people in one person, but for me, it's just, I can definitely say that where I am right now is a conscious choice. It was not that I started some path and now I have to, keep walking because I already invested a bunch of years. Every single thing that I do is conscious decision, especially also the role as, you introduced me as a power platform specialist, but it's been a month that I'm in that role and everything before looked a bit different than you would expect when you see someone who's a power platform specialist. You expect the background of a consultant, maybe you expect the background of the DT65. For me, it's been a lot. It's been yes, IT, but also networking. It's been partnerships. It's been sales. A lot of different things. So I see a lot of benefits in having such perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's great to see that determination of where you've come from and that where you're going is on purpose and of your crafting. When I think about, like, I try not to get guests on the show that are just going to peddle a product, right? Because that's not what this platform's about. And the thing is with Resco, though, why it's always interested me, Resco, is that I think I first came across Resco either in 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. It was around that time, a time frame I'm thinking. It reminds me of being in Seattle. And the reason is back then, CRM had problems or had challenges when it came to the mobility story. And I was working with more and more customers that wanted mobility, they wanted to offline. And one of the projects I was in, we built an offline mobile experience on toughened, computers that would sit in road worker trucks, and it would use a SQLite in the back end and would allow for these road workers, wherever they went over their area of work, which had no mobile coverage, allow them to do their job, come back, sync up, and go back in. Now, at that time, there was another product in market, maybe CWR Mobility or something like this. I cannot even exactly remember what the name was. Microsoft acquired them, and everyone was like, poor Resco, because there were two mobile solutions that the world saw that work with Dynamics, and it was seen that the other one won. And of course, it wasn't the case because it was petered out and became nothing. And Resco just went from strength to strength and grew into this very robust, trustworthy platform. And what I mean by trustworthy platform is that you need something to work where you don't have high fidelity Wi-Fi or even mobile coverage and things, and you don't want your device breaking down. That could be a key data capture tool. It needs to work. And I think Resco has developed that reputation of it works and it's solid and it's trustworthy from an end user perspective. And from an an organization can have trust in it. So I was very interested in getting you on. Tell us about When you explain what Resco is and what Resco does, how do you tell it?
Now that the Resco's product portfolio used to be very singular, and it used to be about advanced mobility. So it used to be very simple in how to position Resco's value. Now it's getting a bit more tricky as we added bunch more activities in our platform. That's why I usually prefer to start with a bit of a history lesson. I know it's usually super boring, but it's easier to, I would say, absorb where Resco is actually going because, in a sense, Resco is similar than me. Like, if you look at my history, there's art, there's basketball, there is here and that, and people are like, okay, why? So that's why I always start Resco was founded in 1999 by a bunch of friends, and the first idea was that the mobile devices are super cool and not just for, I would say, consumers, but specifically for businesses. And who's gonna really figure out how useful these mobile devices can be? Those will be developers. So we're like a software house from the very beginning. We're like a developer-based company, and our first idea was not to find a gap in the market or just to figure out some brilliant product. We were just focused on how we can help developers to actually develop good applications for mobile devices. So it really started with components that help them to work with the photos, work with the camera, or work with some other, I would say, elements of mobile experience that we expected developers to need. So that was, I would say, first 10 years of our experience of actually just supporting developers with the toolkits so they can better develop for mobile application. And at certain point, we realized we have enough experience to not just support developer directly, let's say one-on-one, but to create a platform for them. At the same time, we realized that in all of our conversations, there was a developer with some needs that we were helping, but in the background, there was always some backend for the application, right? That you have a front and backend. And in many cases, in the most strategic customers that we talked to, the backend was dynamics. So at that point, we were like, first of all, we know enough now about the developers, their needs, and their needs when it comes to the mobile application, so we can create a platform. On the other hand, that platform will be natively for Dynamics because that's the world that we currently live in. Actually, when you said 2012, that was the year when we released our Woodford application. And Woodford application, that was pretty much what Power Platform is now for application development. Woodford is the same thing, low code, no code for mobile application development for Dynamics at the time. So we were low code, no code for mobile applications years before a Power Platform. So that's where we started to be seen through that application mostly. Like you said, it was a long story through many projects where we showcased many of our capabilities, not just the offline, but also because offline also can mean many things, right? And you explained it perfectly. For some people, they only have that tool. They only have mobile device. They have nothing else. And also the perfect example is I just recently actually traveled to Auckland and to New Zealand to meet with the Microsoft folks, but also to visit one of our customers. And when we met with their engineers in the field, they were digging fiber and that kind of stuff. We were asking them about their experience with the Resco, and we actually asked them do you have any manuals? How do you know what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to take with you, etc., etc.? No, we have only mobile application, nothing else. This is it. Everything that I need to know or do is in this mobile device. And also, I like to think of it through probably my experience from enterprise sector when I work at the Microsoft. When you have a bank and they're thinking about going from on-prem to cloud, they're most hesitant because they have some critical applications. For service-based companies, that critical workload, that critical application is that person and that mobile device. So if bank is asking about the availability of your cloud service, and it has to be 99.659, the same thing applies to mobile processes. That's why we build everything on a very reliable offline because it's not that there is no reception. In many cases, there is a reception, but the reception might not be enough to provide that worker with what they need. So that was kind of like a cornerstone for the success that we had with the many customers. Microsoft actually discovered little Resco and decided to make Resco part of the field service package from 2016. So in 2016, Microsoft introduced field service module and a sales module. And in the field service module, when you bought a license, you automatically got a license to field service mobile, and that was white labeled Resco application. But that was only one stream. I was working with Microsoft on all of the field service projects, but also on the other hand, we're doing the similar projects for Microsoft Dynamics for sales and many other custom projects, especially the projects we are most proud of, and those are our projects with the NGOs. So that those are very, very specific projects. So, and that was our story pretty much, just legacy story of Resco. You have that mobile client for Dynamics up until, I believe, 2022, when Microsoft switched from us to their own native Power App for understandable reasons, because most of the mobile use cases, they don't need that advanced functionality. Many of the projects, they don't need that full, very strong offline. So we kind of like maintained our niche specialist status and kept working on all of the other projects we had apart from that collaboration. So that was up until 2022. And then naturally, we, as I explained the history, thanks to, the success of the Power Platform as a platform for getting business applications. So it was not just Dynamics anymore. There was a huge Power Platform where you can create any business application. And also that business application can have mobile users in the field. We were like, naturally, we want to enable our application, our mobile client, also for Power Platform. And when we actually entered the Power Platform, we realized, we have a history of creating components. We have a history of creating a lot of interesting stuff for developers. Those people that we wanted to have back in the day, that we were supporting back in the day, are now in the Power Platform. Let's go back to basics and let's do the same thing. So that's how we started with what we call Power Solutions and Power Components. So this is how we're creating these little pieces of functionality that now can be used within the Power Platform. So now Resco has a bunch of things, but it all makes sense when you look at it as a story.
Yeah. So let's look at Power Solutions and Power Components. So these are PCF components ultimately, is that right? Or is that only part of the story?
First sign of us doing something else than mobile client over 3 Power Solutions. One's a Forms Plus, there's a Docs Plus, and there's a Steps Plus. Essentially what it is, Forms Plus is the questionnaire or forms functionality taken out of our Woodford platform, and we made it available for Power Platform. What it means, if you want to create a dynamic form with the business logic, you can do it with our engine within the Power Platform. So you have a designer for that form within the Power Platform, but also player of that form. So essentially, you could say it's a control, but it's a heavier thing. It's not something smaller. Same with the Docs Plus. Our mobile client has ability to generate PDF in the offline by itself from any data. We took that out, and now it's available as a PDF generator for Power Platform. It's not offline. It has to be online because we're using a serverless function from Azure. But it's the same thing. Like whatever you want, you can create a PDF. So we have a designer for that document, and also that whole engine that really translates it to a PDF. So those were the solutions. Just pretty much, we know that there is a functionality. Yeah.
So that's 2. What was the third one?
That was a Steps Plus. Steps Plus is a different kind of animal. What we did there, we call it, it's a solution for knowledge sharing. Because in many of our projects, we realized there's always headquarters or whoever manages the knowledge, and they write all the processes, they document how it's supposed to be done. And the people in the field who actually do the job, it's a completely different world. And in many cases, there is no communication between them. So we pretty much, through all of our mobile projects with our mobile client, we realized we need to come up with a solution how we can share the knowledge, but also how the field worker can provide feedback to that knowledge. So that is available with the Resco technology, but also was taken out and now is available as a solution for Power Platform. So essentially, you create the guide with the photos, with the steps, with the warnings, with whatever. You enable it for the field user, and that field user can go through it, actually work based on that, but also rate it and provide the feedback back to it. Actually enriches the knowledge with the real life data, let's say.
Interesting.
So those are the three big solutions. But then we realized these are three heavy things we're taking out of our platform. This is our IP that we just put over our platform. But there are also these components, which is our nature from 20 years ago. Let's look at that as well. And this is where we have a kind of like I would say multiple visions, because we're not the only ones that understand and do PCFs, right? PCFs is like everybody's game in the Power Platform. But we were like, and it goes back to one of the conversations that I had even before we announced that we're doing PCFs. And I talked to one of my friends, and he's a solution architect for one of the big four companies. Amazing guy, understands and really excels at all of the business applications. And we were talking about the components, and there are a couple of things that he told me. Like, first of all, he was like, but it's open source. Like, no one's going to use it in enterprise grade sector because it's too much effort. And I was like, but you do it. You do have internal library, right? And he was like, yeah, we have a huge library of components, but we never reuse them. We create them, we store them. If it's relevant, we show them to customer so they actually see something real, and so we create the interest, but we still create the new one for them anyway. So there was this whole like a weird situation of everybody wants them, everybody's trying to create them, everybody's trying to reuse them, but it never really clicks. There's something missing. And we were like, we as a software house of 20 years of experience development, why don't we take what's out there and we help to support it, to document it? So our vision at the moment is whatever is out there, we're happy to just, take it, maybe rewrite it, add a layer of support and document on top of it. At the same time, we're accepting direct requests. So whoever needs PCF and doesn't have a capacity, we're happy to do it for them.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have these, visions of creating the whole platforms for configuring and managing PCFs. So there are different pillars, different horizons that we see in a PCF game, but it's not like that we are pretending we're the only ones doing this, we're the only ones understanding PCFs. No, we're just trying to do what needs to be done, I would say, so these PCFs can really go a long way, because ultimately it really supports the mission of the Power Platform. And for me, it's a very personal, it is the same thing that I told to Scott Duro when we had this conversation today. Like, when you think about PCF, you usually hear these great names like Scott or Diana Birkelbach from Orbis from Germany. Like, these are great professional, great developers who actually talk about the PCFs in a passion. They talk about their value. But I am a typical example of a citizen developer with almost no deep IT background. I used to do a lot of envisioning, I used to do a lot of selling and consulting, but I never went really functionally deep. And even for me, PCF components have a huge added value, because for some skilled developer, it saves time. For me, it's ability to deliver higher value, because without a component, I'm stuck. So there's also that perspective of enabling all these citizen developers, because that is the second population, right, in the whole Power Platform world. You have all the amazing developers. They can now develop easier and quicker, but you also have a lot of other people who now can contribute thanks to things like PCS and also all the other options that are in the Power Platform.
Yeah, very cool. Has Scott ever showed you some of the PCF controls he's made in the past that are not in the public?
We're on the way there. We have a bunch of secret plans because we, to be honest, Resco announced that we're entering the PCF game only like a half year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting up, and I think that 2025 will be definitely a breakthrough because apart from talking about the fact that we are here, we have a knowledge, we have a capacity, whatever, we're also working on some big things. So I don't want to really reveal too much, but there'll be some really heavy components coming from Resco this year.
Tell me about being an ISV and the relationship with Microsoft around, and you're a unique ISV in your relationship with Microsoft, and that Microsoft white labeled your products in the past. But that structure is not there now so much, right? They've gone their own way. You're doing your own thing, and so you're a more traditional now. What I'd classify as an ISV. And over my 21 years of being in the space, the experience that partners have with Microsoft from an ISV perspective, let's just say, has been a tumultuous road for 99.9999% of every ISV that has worked with Microsoft. And the biggest reason is the people that own the ISV relationship within Microsoft. You are lucky if any of them own it for more than 3 years before they move on to something else, and the next person comes in with their new program, and there's an attempt at a thing called AppSource, which is its predecessors, etc. I have laid out many complaints in my history of that product, and when I used to own my own company, I created a lot of components that worked on Dynamics. And I'd gone through everything from escrow to getting them certified for Microsoft's platform and the likes. Now, ISV partnership today with Microsoft, how does that work for you? And I suppose you wouldn't just have your ideas on it. You're bound to have talked with other ISVs out there. But how does it work now? What works? And then what would be awesome if it changed, or if you had a magic wand and could choose how the ISV to Microsoft relationship worked? How would that work?
Being ISV for me is very similar to being a teenager. You're heavily misunderstood and mislabeled in many conversations, and you don't really know what to do with it. When I'm thinking about how is it to be ISV, I'm really going back to my Microsoft days, because before I was a part of an enterprise sales team as an account technology strategist, I was a partner recruit.
Were you an ATS?
ATS, yeah.
ATS.
Well,
interesting.
And before I was an ATS for commercial sector, I was a partner recruit in our subsidiary.
Mm-hmm.
So I was responsible for really getting all the local partners or potential partners interested to get them onboarded in the program, look at their IPs, look at their services, throw everything in the partner center, that sort of a thing. So that's when I actually started learning more about the differences between a system integrator and an ISV. Because coming from Resco previously, as this is my second time in Resco, I understood that we are an ISV, but it's also important how Microsoft sees that difference. I think there was this rule of thumb or this layman's approach to what is the difference between these two types of partners. And I remember one of my older colleagues, he told me, like, imagine it like this, like these both types of partners, they extend and like adjust and customize the Microsoft solutions. But the ISV does it with their IP, and the system integrator does it with also with customization their code, but technically with the services. So the benchmark would be, let's say 50% of code. That's how we explained it. Like if solution provided is if more of the 50% of the code is their IP, it's ISV. If it's less, then it's a system integrator. Because many system integrators, we have a great partners who actually took bunch of ISV solutions, put them together with the Dynamics and some other created package, and there's still SI because the code they used for integration or customization was just a small portion of the package that they created. On the other hand, Resco's mobile client is 100% our code. So interesting approach from the old colleague of mine. And this is how I'm thinking about it. And I also remember the fact that as I was working on these all types of partners, you have Azure, you have business applications, you have more work. In Azure, the ISVs are a huge thing. Like everybody supports them because ultimately, whatever IP you created, it sits in Azure. It creates Azure consume revenue, so they're still friends. While in business applications area, it seems like a competition. And that's mostly because if you're a partner, and we need SIs to work with us, right? Because SIs are local, they speak to customer, they deliver the whole project, so they need to be the ones that recommend Resco. But overall, how SI, like they talk to customer, they see a situation, and they're trying to deliver what they can deliver. And if there is a gap, there is a gap. But Resco and other ISVs, they have to make conscious decision that we are creating some product, some IP that will fill some gap. So we're here only for a specific purpose. And we somehow have to convince some of the SIs, like, you see this gap, we see this gap. Don't try to put your 10%, 20% solution there. Take Resco's 100%. So this need to explain that we picked specific problem, very, very specific problem, in most cases niche problem, that I would say is a reason for why ISVs have it so difficult, because you need to do a lot of explanation what kind of problem you're solving, why it is not a completion to something that's existing. Hence, our mobile client, or one of the examples that I use is just amazing ISV, FLS, which they're pretty much what we are for mobility. If we have a customer that is like happy, or I would say it's nice to have for them to have a mobile application for the mobile workforce. If it's nice to have, they can use Power Platform because if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's okay. And it can happen anywhere. I was just visiting Avanade in Stuttgart, and there is a Avanade, Accenture, and I think SAP. And you go downstairs, you're waiting for a bus. There is no reception in the middle of the Stuttgart. Like these things happen in London, everywhere. But if you cannot afford this risk, you have to go with the Resco. You have to go with the advanced mobility. So it's like a second layer. If this use case is important, needs availability, you're going with the Resco. Same thing does the FLS for a scheduling in the field service. So if RSO itself is a problematic for you because it's too automated, or you can't really customize it to your needs, you're going with the FLS. And they're having the same difficulties because in most of the cases, first question is, why not RSO? Are you in competition to Microsoft? I said, no. We just know that one scenario where there are customers that need us, and there is no customization that you can do or you should do to fix that because there is a solution like this. And another great point you made, PDMs, like every partner that wants to grow and make Microsoft happy needs to have a PDM because you need to be in line with the Microsoft. You need their help. I'm not sure how many PDMs there are for ISVs in business applications. I know of one. In the world.
Wow.
And I totally remember from my days with the Microsoft, if you had a good PDM as a partner, sky is the limit. Because you're gonna know about the projects, you're gonna know about the programs, and programs can make a really difference for you. I just attended the Business Central Conference Directions in Vienna 2 months ago, and Business Central, amazing world. amazing world. There's so many ISVs in a Business Central ecosystem, and it's growing insanely.
Yeah.
Not just because there is a huge demand, but on the other hand, the programs there are unbelievable.
Mm.
And if you want to use them, you have to be onboarded, managed, etc., etc. So PDM for ISV in business applications area would really, really help. But I mean, it's one person. I mean, I almost feel bad to try to reach out to that lady or gentleman. So, like I said, there is a structural problem. There is a misunderstanding. There is a lack of resources. It's a tough world out there. But still, if you know your ideal customer profile, if you know your GTM strategy, you definitely can make enough people happy. But overall, it's not as easy. It's not as seamless as one would thought.
Cooper, it's been very good talking to you. You're a wealth of knowledge, and you've definitely left me with some insights that I never had, which I'm going to follow up with you on. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's been a pleasure. I can't wait for next time. We have a lot to talk about, and definitely take care. Hopefully see you next time that I'm flying to Auckland.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If there's a guest you'd like to see on the show, please message me on LinkedIn. If you want to be a supporter of the show, please check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Stay safe out there and shoot for the stars.
Are you ready to accelerate your career in the Microsoft ecosystem? The 90-Day Mentoring Challenge, created by Mark Smith, is your opportunity to create a personalized pathway to success. Join over 1,200 alumni from more than 70 countries who have achieved remarkable results, from promotions to new job opportunities. Take it from Nathan, who said, "Since completing the 90-Day Mentoring Challenge, I've become an MVP in business applications and doubled my income." Or from Parves, who shares, "I've never felt as inspired or energized about my career as I do now." Sign up at arcor.nz365guy.com. You can find the link in the show notes. And if you use the code podcast, you'll get 10% off.